The following is a local resident producer's program. The program content is the sole responsibility of the producer and does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of Oshkosh Media, the City of Oshkosh, or your video service provider.
Another edition of Make It Happen. I have with me again, back with me, I have Jennifer Kotzur again. Thanks for joining me.
Well, it's glad to be back. I know it just seems like a whirlwind adventure from our last visit, but definitely things have changed, and so many great things have happened since my last visit. I don't know, are you ready to hear about the exciting things that have happened?
Yeah, because on the last show we just talked about TBI.
So yeah, it's funny to think that...
So how has TBI led to your changes in your routines and your stuff that you do?
So it's funny to think that, you know, when I had my accident 2 years ago, that twirling was not even on my radar. But I made a goal to myself a year ago that I wanted to twirl again. And so I made a phone call to my twirling coaches and I told them, I was like, look, you know what, I already know that I have polycystic ovarian syndrome and I know my body is affected with the pain of this even more severely. I know that I have a brain injury, but I want to do something with my platform, which is live to educate, overcoming obstacles while achieving the dream, because you have the eye of the tiger. And I had found, thanks to Lydia Nix, at the time she was the state director for Texas Perfect Athlete, World's Perfect Athlete, which is a wonderful nonprofit organization that's around for cheerleaders, dancers, baton twirlers, martial arts, and archery based out of Florida, and helps provide scholarships. And I was drawn to it because I was like, wow, Kaiser University, because that's where I'm thinking about going for my PhD. And I said, okay, this is a challenge. I want to go and continue my journey in baton twirling and bring home a world title from a pageant point of view. Little did I know that I'd find myself about a year after completing physical therapy on the competition floor, competing in 5 routines as well as a modeling routine. Not to mention, get this, with bronchitis in Florida, but getting to hear my name announced as Miss Perfect Twirler. But the greatest part about that was being the first Miss Perfect Twirler from Texas and the first Miss Perfect Twirler over the age of 21. So I think this whole living to educate and being able to live out my platform was so much more. And I actually did this, you know, having my injuries. And, you know, the PTSD side of this was really somewhat as a healing. And I owe a huge, great response. When I called up Whitney Coons, and I said, hey, Whitney, can I come into the gym? I want to get a training session with you. I think she thought I just wanted a refresher course. And this was in June of last year. We did some basic training, but I said, no, Whitney, we're going to a competition. And so we went in June of last year, and we got the basic fundamentals to see where I was at. I was not really where I was supposed to. Well, in January, we set my routines. We had to actually go back, and we had to modify everything. And then by the time...
How much could you remember?
So the memory issue was actually the hardest part, because here I had competed at an intermediate, some things as intermediate, some things as advanced, and some things as elite in. That's what I was classified as. By the time that I actually retired from baton twirling in 2017, after competing at the Pan Pacific Cup Championships, that was in Sacramento, I had exited out. I'll take that back. It's Twirlmania International is where I had finished that following. So I competed that January, competed February then. So talk about memory. She and I were at an interesting phase, and I'm so glad that we recorded everything and we wrote things down, because by the time that I got on the competition floor in June, I'm so glad that we had the notes because it was a lot of things that I had to remember, but we had to do a lot of modifications. I had to go back and I was doing 2 and 3 spins. I was doing catch blinds. I was doing all these. My 3 baton was above where it was supposed to be. But now here I am doing basic juggles. Things that a novice twirler would be doing, which is a novice is someone who's basically someone who's starting out in the sport.
Speaking of twirling, you have your batons here?
I have my batons, yes. And these are an interesting baton. They are called heart batons.
Okay.
And the reason why they're called a heart is if you look at the way that the ball,
it's shaped like a heart.
It's shaped like a heart. And the reason why is Susan Orr, God bless her soul, as she watches over us twirling here. I think she's one of our twirling handlers now. She was the inventor of this baton about 15 plus years ago. And she and her husband, John, created this alongside NASA to be more aerodynamic. And so when it hits the floor, it doesn't really roll. It just bounces. And so
what would you teach somebody that's starting out with a basic?
Okay, I'm going to take off my crown, if that's okay with you.
Yep.
And so what I would do is I actually get to do this every Thursday during the summer called Twirl-tastic Thursday at a theme park in Texas called Morgan's Wonderland.
Okay, see.
So I'm going to teach you like I would one of my students there.
Okay.
And so we're going to put it on our hands. I'm going to teach you a nice, if that's okay with you.
Yep.
Can I stand up? Actually, I'm going to go on my knees. And so we're going to put it on our hands.
Okay.
And we're going to roll it in. Can you roll it in?
A little bit.
And then let's just try balancing it on our hands. Okay. We're going to do...
That's very hard. Actually,
just pop it up. Just pop it. We caught it.
Yeah.
There you go. I think I have a new partner. It's okay. I'll be your timekeeper. We're about 5 minutes in the show.
Okay.
So, then hold it in your hands. And your hands here. Other way.
Other way. Other way.
Other way. So hands up.
Okay.
And you're going to pop it up. Good job. So that is just a simple hand pop.
If you just want to face the camera to show.
So this is what I did. Was just a simple hand pop. So if I was teaching a novice student, this is what I teach them. Or, so Ed, you had asked me in a previous show, what have I done for parts of my healing? And so I didn't get a chance to tell you.
Okay.
So last March of 2018, I actually auditioned to be part of the entertainment department at a place called Morgan's Wonderland. And Morgan's Wonderland is this amazing theme park in Texas, actually San Antonio, Texas, which is the area I'm from. It is the world's only and first all-accessible theme park and all-inclusive. And Nikki Young is the head of edutainment, and her assistant, head of assistant edutainment, Allie Smith, they brought me in for an audition that day. I remember it was mid-February, because I had just come in visiting my friend who worked at Disney, and they were just like, what can you do? And I explained that I had a TBI injury because of a car accident as a baton twirler. And they were just, Allie and Nikki were just like, we have some ideas for you. I auditioned, and then they found out that I could sing. So it's been really cool.
Do you want to do a little routine for us?
And so what they have had me do for the past 2 years is last summer as well as this past summer.
I don't know if you want to do it seated or standing.
I'm going to actually do something called a fishtail.
Okay.
So I can actually walk and talk. At Morgan's, what I get to do with the ingenious idea of Allie and Nikki, something called Twirl-tastic Thursdays, which allows me to teach and inclusively be inclusive and teach anybody of all ages,
Is it hard to learn that? Because I'm sure it's not easy, huh?
So teaching my mind to be able to learn some of these basic tricks was some of the hardest. But I will tell you, as I was going through my post-op from physical therapy, what kept me in shape was working at Morgan's Wonderland. And then furthering, this past spring I got to be part of the Mardi Gras Festival at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas in San Antonio. So that really helped keep with my twirling and keeping with my showmanship and ability. And so I know you'd rather have me up on my feet, but I don't mind to help you out a little bit. So getting to do all these different things help my body get ready for competition.
Okay.
Because it wasn't easy. I mean, I think my whole idea is you look at me and you think...
Because it's not easy to stand because your polycystic ovary disease, right?
Right. So Ed has actually known me for some quiet time, and I don't mind talking about this. In 2016, I got diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome. And so that is a gynecological illness that affects every 1 in 10 women in the world and every 1 in 5 women in the United States ages 15 to 40. And what it does is it actually affects our hormonal imbalance, and it affects our ovaries and causing pearls, which is cysts, are actually on our ovaries. It can help cause infertility, a miscalculation of our periods, heavy bleeding, mood swings, depression, anxiety, weird hair growth, things like that. My favorite one has been hip pain, joint pain, things like that. You know, it's something that I've had to learn to deal with in the past 3 years. So
speaking of infertility, it puts you at a higher risk of not being able to have kids.
Well, and that's true. So I've worked with an amazing gynecologist, and they're in San Antonio, and so she actually has had me change up my diet a little bit, and that has been one thing that's been really weird as an athlete, because I'm already got genetically thyroid, and then diabetes is something that I have to work on, and so having to keep that in mind, I learned recently through this whole journey with Live to Educate, I learned that on my father's side, I learned a little bit about the whole gynecological illnesses and how it affects me. And so I've told myself that, you know, if there's anything I can do with my title is I want to not just make it about being with PCOS, but anything else that I can further educate, you know, women out there.
Yeah.
As well as
and
men.
I don't know if any of my viewers know, but I had a daughter 6 weeks ago. And I'm going to bring her in here in a little bit to introduce her to viewers. So if we can bring her in here now, that'd be awesome.
So yeah, you want to give me this. So she will eventually get a little baton when she's a little bit older.
And Jennifer's actually her godmother.
Yeah.
Back there, camera 2. Tell them camera 2. Please.
Camera 2.
Hello there.
Hey.
So this is Ismay Starlet.
So Esme Starlet, yeah. She is
6 weeks old. She's a sweetheart. Loves her daddy. So I know I don't have a mic. You okay there?
Yeah, so Esme Starlet came into the world, as Miss Rachel was saying.
Her daddy loves her too.
She came into Rachel and Ed's life 6 weeks ago. It's hard to believe. God's time flies. She has the most prettiest blue eyes in the world and this beautiful smile. I think she will dazzle the stage one day and whatever she does. And she is, to me, one of my whys on, you know, I tell people to keep on being motivated, you know, to keep on doing what they love. It doesn't matter what your abilities are. You are a superhero and you can inspire. And I love Ed for what he does. Ed has inspired me, and Ed didn't know this. I get to go back and compete next June at World's Perfect Athlete to somewhat defend my title, but in the superhero division, because as Ed has had me on the show, and actually it was Esme that kind of almost was my push as well to compete in the superhero division, which does include, it's the division for any athlete who has an ability, a unique superhero and ability that would not allow them to be with the would not allow them to be with the regular mainstream athletes. So I will get to go back and represent any athlete, whether it's the all-inclusive division. So I'm super excited about that. And you can thank Esme for being that push. And I'm so glad we get to include her in this because to now go back and be in the superhero division and to defend us. And, Ed, I'll definitely have to share with you about the superhero division. I thought last year.
Yeah, and that's pretty much all I would say is it's like anything is possible. She's my why. And, I mean, it's unfortunate that some people don't have anything better to do than try to talk us down. But, this is our family. We're very happy. We're very much in love. And, I mean, it's going to be okay. So you're welcome. I am glad to be part of their family. And Rachel and Ed, are just amazing parents. And being out here and getting to see that, Ed and Rachel have been a part of my life for about a year now. A little over a year, something like that.
Yeah, and thank you. So when I first met you, where were you at in your journey when I met you at the World Miss Tourism pageant?
Oh, gosh.
That was 2 years ago, right?
No, that was a year ago. It was about a year and a half ago.
Where were you at in your journey?
I think I was a hot mess, as I like to tell people. So, no, it's okay. I always tell people, look, I'm a crazy hot mess, and I own it. I was just getting out of, I was in year, last year was 2018. So I was in year 2 of my diagnosis of polycystic ovarian syndrome. I was in year 1 of my, ending year 1 of my traumatic brain injury. I was in year 3 of a few other things, but I would just say that I was in a place.
How can you come back after a year to compete? Was it really hard?
I definitely say getting back out on the competition floor.
Because you have to retrain your body to do everything.
Yes. Oh, believe me, it has been a lot of crying, a lot of broken nails, a lot of bumps in the head, a lot of that. But I owe a lot of good motivation. I call my support system the Team Chill Dreamers. It's mostly everybody, I don't know if anybody can see this, I've given everybody a bracelet that says #live2educate. Actually, my Facebook web page is facebook.com/live2educate. Anybody who's met me, that is, especially my team, that is theirs. And then I live by the White Tiger because here's my little Thursday tidbit.
Thursday. Yeah.
I can't even believe I lost sleep here. Every 1 in 5 white Siberian tigers has a genetic disorder that causes her stripes to mutate. And I have been fascinated because a white Siberian tiger has blue eyes and I have blue eyes. And I know that she's fierce and I know that she's a leader. And she's a leader of her troops. And I know I, as an athlete and a leader and as a queen, as a role model, I am a leader to the future generation. I believe that I have the power to do everything. Mm-hmm. So what? I have this diagnosis. I have this label.
So how has God helped you in this journey?
I believe that God has recently reopened my eyes to show that in the youth ministry position, He's placed me with some of the most amazing kids that I get to work with at my church back in Stockdale, Texas, as well as constantly putting people in my life as angels to help me lift me up when I've needed them, that I'm not done. I'm not, done. As Mandisa would say, you're unfinished. And having a conversation with her 2 years ago at a meet and greet, she said, honey, you are unfinished. You've got a journey. Tell your story and don't be afraid. And one of the songs that I love is the Newsboys' Your Love Never Fails. And that song has been my motivation. And recently, I can't tell you the name of the song, but Casting Crowns has a song out that talks about how, David just took a stone into battle. Oh, I think I'm just a nobody. Because I am just a nobody, just like Ed, you're a nobody. But we're the children of God. And we have this fire in them. And I think that at the end of the day, God has placed me on this earth to be his vessel, to be his light, to be his servant. And I think baton twirling is my gift. I always say this crown is his crown.
Now, in transition to that, do you want to talk about your platform and how important it is to you?
So
and how do you think God led you down your platform?
So Live to Educate actually came about, I talked about the competing in another pageant system. So Live to Educate actually came about a year ago, a year and a half ago. And I needed something to tell my story. I thought about polycystic ovarian syndrome and being an athlete and a performer with it and not being ashamed. But now I feel what powered me is the world that I live in. I live in a world with labels. I live in a world of uniqueness, and I'm going to always go back with being really inspired more so by my family members who have different unique abilities.
Just like your polycystic doesn't define you, or your brain injury, just like my cerebral palsy doesn't define me.
Right. And so God knows that he put a wonderful woman named Spruce Dickerson in my life, and he put my pageant coach, Jonelle Joyner, in my life. And so working with those women have helped me develop my platform. But I go back to working at Morgan's Wonderland, and there's no place like that has really talked about inclusion. And when I think about that, I think about being home, and I'm thinking about how I can be a voice and being welcomed. And so I thought about, Jonelle has always said to me, Jen, you have the eye of the tiger. And one of the very first words that I said, I didn't even know what it was, when I came to, was oko tigrasa, which is Polish, which is what my last name is. And ironically, it means, my last name is Kotzur, which means Tom Count. But oko tigrasa means eye of the tiger. And I thought, okay, I'm going to use this as part of my platform. So, in short,
do you think everybody has the eye? They just have to find their eye?
Yes. And so, exactly. I believe we have this roar in us. And I tell everybody, whether it be...
Just like they have to find their passion.
Yes. And so that's what I tell everybody, whether it be working as an edutainer at Morgan's Wonderland, whether it be a performer at Six Flags, or I got into work at SeaWorld, Texas, in San Antonio as well, whether it be working with a guest there, or whether it be in the Queen's Life, or what's really cool with my platform, I've even gotten to team up with the San Antonio Rampage with my company, Texas All Stars Expression, to do my charity, Think Pink with the Rampage, for the Mary Kay Foundation, and working with my queens that I get to work with there, and promoting breast health awareness. It's been so amazing that this one idea of Live to Educate.
And that's what my show's about. That's why I do my show.
It's
to
so
educate
amazing.
people.
Like, I sit here and think of you talk about making it happen. I think about leaving corporate America. I think about, meeting the amazing people that I've gotten to meet. I love my director, Laura Pucker. She is my world director, and then my director at large, Christina McWhirther. Those two women, I don't know how they put up with me, but when I tell them I have these ideas, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I want to promote Live to Educate. This is how I want to promote World's Perfect Athlete or Texas Perfect Athlete.
How has Morgan's Wonderland changed your life? Since we don't have an exclusive water park here in town, so I never got to play. I never got to play in the Dells. So I really want to go there, and I really want to bring an idea back to maybe open my own water park.
So Gordon Hartman and Maggie Hartman, 10 years ago, actually were out on a family vacation with their daughter Morgan, who just celebrated her 26th birthday a couple weeks ago, and they saw how their daughter was being treated and had this idea of wanting to build this place of inclusion, of friendship, of joy. So they came back and they built Morgan's Wonderland, which is a theme park site that everybody could come and play. And then in 2017, in June of 2017, they opened Morgan's Inspiration Island, which is an all-inclusive water park, which has 5 splash pads and a riverboat adventure ride. and is home to the outside of the University of Pittsburgh to pneumatic wheelchairs, which is really cool. They're water powered wheelchairs. And I think working at Morgan's Wonderland, starting out actually volunteering there and then working with the Inclusion Fusion dance team and now the Inclusion Fusion show choir, as well as the summer I got to work with the guest relations side, I think that has really opened up my eyes to why I thought I wanted to do special education as my master's. But completely, I'm glad I went down youth ministry because it led me to studying abroad in Australia.
Because with you working there and volunteering there, have you ever heard stories from parents that say, "Oh, I love this park. I love being here, and thank you for having it"?
So, I hear that all the time, and then I've met families where from all over the globe, and where I was going with the Australia side, I connected with a family this summer, but one parent was from New Zealand, one parent was Australia, and they actually flagged me down because they saw that I had an Australian keychain. And we had a conversation about this, about how different it is on the other side of the world. And I was bawling because here I am, I have a passion for culture. But their daughter just picked up one of my batons one day on a Thursday when I was doing one of my twirling shows and connecting with little Charlotte. And it was actually one of the very first families we had through the Make-A-Wish New Zealand. And I will never forget Charlotte and Emma. And that moment made me realize that here I am. They don't know my story. I really don't know theirs.
Because they can actually play with their son or daughter at the park, right?
Yes, and that's what's so great. I mean, here's something that I think is so wonderful that it's life-changing. And I tell people, we all have unique gifts. And you go back to, why do I think God has put me on this earth? I want to now study. I never would have thought about this with my traumatic brain injury and live to educate. But now I want to do a PhD study on the effects of visual and performing arts. But I owe it to Morgan's Wonderland, actually. And Gordon Hartman and the Gordon Hartman Foundation also started, we have the STROPS program, which is the South Texas Adaptive Regional, it's our regional sports program. Mm-hmm. And seeing Brooke Matula, who oversees that, seeing her and the athletes at work, mm-hmm. getting exposed to this really has motivated me to see that when you have this passion, the joys, the smiles, you can transfer whatever unique superpower you have. It doesn't matter. It does not confine you to doing anything. And the employees, I don't call them employees, my fellow Team Morgan members, seeing how uniquely amazing they are through the edutainment department, through guest services, through write ops, through any department that I've gotten to work with or volunteer with, coming together to make a difference. It has been any place that I have gotten to be a part of has motivated me with my title as the world's Miss Perfect Twirler to want to just continue to sparkle and shine in my own way, but to work hand in hand to be part of taking Twirltastic Thursdays on the road and show that, yes, I have my labels as well, but to show that when you have a passion, make it happen. Don't let nothing stop you.
I think we're down to our last 3 minutes, if I'm right. Well, where would you be without your music and your twirling? Where would you be without that? I mean, because music helps out a lot with your mood and your...
So, without my exposure to the performing arts at a young age, without my involvement in music, without my involvement in twirling, without my faith, I don't know where I would be. I would be lost and in a very dark place. I will say, as the bearded woman and the Greatest Showman says, I am not a stranger to the dark. I will not hide away. And one of the songs that I got to twirl to was Million Dreams. And I have a million dreams that are keeping me awake. And as Elphaba and Wicked would say is, I will defy gravity as much as I can. And so if that doesn't tell you how influential that is through my performance and through my gifts, I will tell everybody, look, continue to inspire, continue to make a difference. just think 1 ounce of gratitude will make a change, and you have no idea what you're doing. I mean, I would have never thought twirling could open up so many doors.